Shut up and get on with it. That, in essence, was the unmistakable message coming out of Ferrari's Formula One camp, a directive that, according to many, was clearly aimed by John Elkann at Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. The statement immediately drew attention and created waves within the Formula One community because it was unusually direct and stern, standing in contrast to the typically measured and reserved communication style of the Ferrari president. To properly understand what the Italian executive meant, one cannot simply take the comments at face value or interpret them superficially, as if engaging in casual barroom debate. Instead, the situation requires a careful and detailed analysis, beginning with a few fundamental assumptions that help put the entire picture into perspective. John Elkann, the grandson of the late Gianni Agnelli, the legendary avocado and symbol of Italian industrial excellence, has for many years held some of the most influential positions across multiple major global holdings, including those connected to the Fiat Chrysler legacy and the Exor Group. Without even entering into the debate about his specific managerial abilities, it is undeniable that he has accumulated vast experience in leadership and governance. As such, he is a man who fully understands the exact weight, meaning, and consequences of every word he utters, especially when speaking before the entire Italian and international press. Therefore, when the Ferrari president decides to publicly address the team's underwhelming results in Formula One, particularly the disappointing performances of the SF25 single-seater, his words cannot be dismissed as an emotional outburst or an impulsive comment. There is no doubt that what John Elkann said was a deliberate and carefully planned message, a calculated communication, rather than an improvised reaction. Yet, at the same time, it is equally fair to acknowledge that, although John Elkann sits at the top of the most prestigious team in the world of motorsport, he is not necessarily a deep insider of Formula One's technical and political complexities. The timing of his remarks was particularly striking. On a weekend that should have been a celebration for the Maranello team, given Ferrari's extraordinary triumph in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships in the World Endurance Championship, the stark contrast between that victory and the lackluster performance at the Brazilian Grand Prix in Interlagos was impossible to ignore. It was this contrast that gave rise to the first major misunderstanding about the message John Elkann wanted to send. The senior management of the Maranello company was present in Bahrain to commemorate a historic sporting achievement: Ferrari's success in the World Endurance Championship, a triumph that arrived just 3 years after the debut of the program. For anyone not deeply immersed in the world of racing, it can be hard to grasp how the same manufacturer can dominate endurance racing while simultaneously struggling to achieve consistent success in Formula One. During his celebration of the 499P's incredible victory, John Elkann emphasized that when the entire Ferrari organization stands united, it has the ability to accomplish extraordinary results. His message was one of unity, teamwork, and collective effort, a reflection of Ferrari's broader corporate philosophy that success must come from harmony between the technical departments, the drivers, and the leadership. However, the problem arises when this concept of unity is applied equally to two completely different racing categories. Comparing Formula One and the World Endurance Championship is misleading, because they represent two entirely distinct worlds with different regulations, philosophies, and competitive dynamics. Cohesion and teamwork are certainly essential ingredients in both disciplines, but they are not sufficient on their own to guarantee success in Formula One. With all due respect to endurance racing, which has grown in prestige thanks to the return of manufacturers like Ferrari, Porsche, Toyota, and Cadillac, Formula One remains the absolute pinnacle of motorsport, a world governed by extreme technical sophistication, relentless development, and fierce competition that operates on a different level altogether. The World Endurance Championship triumph is undoubtedly a magnificent accomplishment, especially considering that Ferrari won the 24 Hours of Le Mans on its very first attempt after a 58-year absence. But to equate that success with Formula One performance is, at best, an oversimplification. What has truly surprised many observers is that John Elkann's criticism appeared to be aimed specifically at Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. The Monegasque driver has long been regarded as the cornerstone of Ferrari's Formula One project, the man around whom the team planned to build its future. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, joined Ferrari as a 7-time Formula One world champion and one of the most successful drivers in the history of the sport. His move to Maranello has always been one of John Elkann's personal ambitions. The arrival of Lewis Hamilton at Maranello was widely viewed as the most significant and high-profile signing orchestrated directly by the Ferrari president himself. It was both a sporting and a marketing coup, an operation designed to revitalize Ferrari's image and to demonstrate that the Scuderia could still attract the biggest stars in Formula One. In Elkann's original vision, the partnership between Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton was supposed to create an immediate winning combination, a blend of sporting excellence, prestige, and commercial success. Unfortunately, the reality has turned out to be far more complicated. So far, the collaboration between Ferrari and the British champion has been disappointing, making it one of the least successful ventures among all the world champions who have ever joined the team from Maranello. Both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton have reportedly expressed their dissatisfaction and frustration directly to John Elkann on several occasions. The British driver in particular has been quite open about the issues he has encountered, even referring to detailed internal reports and dossiers that he personally shared with the team's leadership, as he himself has admitted publicly multiple times. These were not emotional complaints, but structured feedback intended to highlight recurring problems within the team. Meanwhile, team principal Frédéric Vasseur, appointed to lead Ferrari into a new era of stability and growth, appears to have secured the full confidence of the company's ownership. His contract extension until the end of 2025 confirmed that trust, signaling that Ferrari intends to give him continuity and authority through what will be the most significant regulatory change in modern Formula One history. John Elkann's statements, in fact, can also be interpreted as an indirect endorsement of Frédéric Vasseur's leadership. The Ferrari president publicly praised the mechanics for their remarkable efficiency during pit stops, and the engineers for the technical improvements introduced on the SF25, suggesting that he considers the French manager's approach to be effective. And yet, when one looks at the broader competitive picture in Formula One, John Elkann's words can sound somewhat naive, even contradictory. Take Red Bull, for instance. The team has completely overhauled its car's aerodynamic concept during the season and still managed to challenge McLaren for victories. That example alone demonstrates the sheer pace of development and adaptability required at the top of Formula One. In comparison, John Elkann's reasoning appears fragmented and perhaps too simplistic, as if failing to fully recognize where the true strengths and weaknesses of a Formula One operation lie. A team can perform the most precise and lightning-fast tire changes in the world, but if its car lacks fundamental pace, aerodynamics, or balance, it will never win a single race. The essence of Formula One success remains technical excellence and innovation, not just teamwork and motivation. For this reason, the critical message aimed at Ferrari's two-star drivers cannot realistically be seen as something entirely conceived by John Elkann himself. It is far more plausible that this sharp tone originated from within the inner workings of the racing department, Ferrari's sporting management structure. This is the division led and shaped by Frédéric Vasseur, a leader who has methodically restructured the organization according to his own philosophy and management style. Elkann, recognizing Vasseur's hard work and the internal reorganization achieved over recent months, likely chose to amplify this internal sentiment publicly. By doing so, he effectively transferred the internal message of discipline and unity to the external world, presenting it as a presidential directive. In truth, the statement serves a dual purpose. It reinforces Fred Vasseur's authority within the team, while simultaneously reminding the drivers, and the public, that Ferrari's leadership stands firmly behind the current technical and managerial direction. The organizational framework that Frédéric Vasseur has built in Maranello bears his personal imprint in every aspect, from the engineering departments to race strategy and human resource management. Since this structure has been approved and backed by the presidency, John Elkann now has every reason to defend and protect it in public.